Good evening. Hi, everyone. Nothing better than interrupting great conversation over a great meal. Say, send me up to do this, but so good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Worrell, and I'm the president of Scholastic Education. And it's, please. It's a real pleasure for me to have the opportunity to come up and welcome you, all of you again to our Comprehensive Literacy Summit. And you all just took a moment to applaud me, but I'm going to flip this a bit and ask, and I know the Scholastic people, you're all in the middle of dessert, but I'm going to ask you to stand. Could all the Scholastic staff just stand for a moment? Wow. Okay, well, that's not what I had in mind, but actually, what I wanted to happen was exactly the opposite. Because I want all of you to know, and I think your reaction in itself speaks to the fact that you know that it is the reverse, that those of us who, I'll say, for me anyway, who are fortunate enough to work for Scholastic, recognize that the power and any importance that's attached to what we do really comes from our passion and desire to serve you as educators and the children that represent our future, our present and our future. So my goal in asking the Scholastic staff to stand was to say exactly the opposite and have them applaud all of you. So I'm going to ask them to do it again. So I'm glad we've got a good feelings all around, but as you all know, the theme for the meeting is around disrupting thinking and this notion of a comprehensive literacy framework. And Ernie mentioned that when we got together, the Scholastic team earlier in a pre-meeting, we talked about the fact that the notion of a comprehensive framework for literacy is needed now more than ever. And the reason we wanted to applaud you as educators this evening is because you took the time to travel, to come here and spend a few days with us to talk about what we can each do differently and better to disrupt and improve and ensure that every child has the best chance to learn and grow. And that takes a fearlessness and courage that is absolutely special. And so again, I want to thank all of you for your courage in being a disruptor of yourself and be willing to think differently and to build new systems and to bring new levels of compassion and openness and resilience to everything that you do every day. So again, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. I also want to thank our presenters from earlier today, Dan Gohl from Broward County. As Dan is here somewhere. Of course, Dr. Karen Mapp, my good friend from Harvard. Adria Klein, thank you for your message, Adria. And of course, Kylene Beers and Bob Probst, who are a real gift to us. So I especially want to thank Kylene and Bob because their leadership in pushing all of us to think anew is so encouraging. And again, all of us at Scholastic join you in this journey, and we're very grateful for this. I'm going to take one more moment, then I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening. Ernie also mentioned earlier in one of our meetings, I was thinking about why we came together and for this couple of days. And I hope you'll all agree with me that today, more than ever, we really need to take time to think anew and to push boundaries, and in many ways just the opposite, find ways to build bridges and pull together. Last night I was flipping channels, and some of you will know Joseph Campbell, who's a great teacher and author who we lost some years ago. There's a seminal interview that he did with Bill Moyers, and Bill Moyers was being interviewed, and he was recounting this interview that took place now better than 20 years ago on public television. It's become, even though it's 20 years old, whenever there's a fundraiser for public TV, this particular talk is always at the top of the list. Everyone wants to hear this talk, and there were two essential points that Joseph Campbell made that Bill Moyers really wanted to highlight for the audience, and I thought it was relevant for the discussions that you all are taking part in today and over the next couple of days. And it was really about the use of the media. And Dr. Campbell said that the problem in our democracy is that when you think about the use of the media, that generally these days people are, and this is these days being better than 20 years ago, the media is consumed and presented within two different contexts. The first context is propaganda. What's the author's intent? When you turn on the television or you pick up a newspaper, that author is delivering a message to you based upon their point of view. And he said propaganda is something that is becoming increasingly pervasive in our society. Again, better than 20 years ago. Think about it today. The second thing that he referenced was sentimentality. That it's not necessarily about the facts, it's about how I feel about it, right? And whether or not the facts as presented to me jive with my own sensibilities and my own dialogue with my friends and the few people that I may be fortunate enough to connect with. But this meeting has really been about, and is really about, how we tear down those walls and come together in new ways, develop a level of transparency and dialogue that's rich and giving. And again, so I thank all of you for being willing to have that dialogue. Bill Moyers said, freedom begins the moment you realize someone else has been writing your story, and it's time you took the pen from his hand and started writing it yourself. So I wanted to share that with you because I think it's relevant for relevant context for the next couple of days. But the greatest pleasure I have this evening is to introduce our guest speaker, Holly Robinson Peete. You can start there. Her bio goes without the statement, but I will read it anyway. She's actress, author, talk show host, activist, and philanthropist. Holly's consistently used her celebrity status as a platform to advocate for issues dear to her heart. A celebrated author, Robinson Peete co-authored with her then 12-year-old daughter the NAACP Image Award-winning My Brother Charlie, a children's book about autism from the sibling's perspective. Her book, Get Your Own Damn Beer, I'm Watching a Game, A Women's Guide to Loving Pro Football, won her the 2006 Quill Literacy Award. It's a phrase that I'm sure more than one husband has heard over the past 4 Sundays, echoed in households across America. But most of all, I'll say that Holly is, we know, a great wife and a mother of 4 children, and a tremendous advocate for, we know her dad's story in battle with Parkinson's disease, and her work in that context to make sure that there's the right investment in research and support to make a difference in that sphere. But then also, when it comes to autism, her own experience and thinking about how we reach every child and the power and potential that's resident in every human being is something that Holly carries with her and lives for every day. So we're grateful that she's with us, and I hope you all will join me in expressing gratitude. Holly Robinson Peete.
Nice play-up music. Wow. Thank you guys. Thank you for that nice music. Thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing? Good? So this is kind of an old stomping grounds for me in Dallas because my husband played for the Cowboys for a year, and that was fun. And it was the year that he proposed to me, right? So this is a big deal, right? Because Barry Switzer, who was our coach then, allowed Rodney to leave the night before a game, not allowed to do that, to fly to Los Angeles to propose to me on the set of Hanging with Mr. Cooper, a sitcom I did in the 90s, which just celebrated its 25th anniversary, so wow. So he allowed him to come before a game and fly in, swoop in, propose to me in front of a live audience, and then go right back to Dallas. And it was just, it was the most amazing proposal ever. It was just awesome. But I just always, every time I see Coach Switzer, I say thank you because, that's a big deal to let him do that. And and he always says the same thing. Every time I see him, I thank him. And he says, Jimmy Johnson wouldn't have let him do that. And he says the same thing. I guess he's, some grudges never go away. So I love this town. It's just my first dating Rodney and being here and really a really amazing city and certainly an awesome football city. So first of all, Greg, thank you so much for that lovely intro. And you just really reminded me of something. I went to Sarah Lawrence College, small college upstate New York, and Joseph Campbell was there as a professor when I was there as a freshman. I couldn't get in any of his classes, as you could imagine. As a freshman, all the seniors had priority there. But I used to just walk around behind him on the campus because I knew even at 19, 18 years old that he was such a special, legendary man. So what a great memory and what a great professor he was. I am so pleased to be here because Scholastic means so much to me. When I decided I wanted to write a story, a kid's book about what autism was, I went around to at least 7 publishers, and Andrea Pinkney was someone who just got it. She just got me, she got our story. And it was really, I just thought everyone was going to say, of course, there are no other books like this. Of course we're going to do this. And one in however many at that point kids have autism, and we don't have anything like this. But she was the only one that really got that. But sometimes in life when things happen to you, in the moment, you're like, oh my God, this is such an awful thing. And you don't know the impact you're going to have by sharing your story with others. So in my life, my father and my son have led me to a life of service and books and so many other things. In talking about community and something we really, need to focus on, I think, in these times. I'm pointing down here like you guys can see what I'm pointing at because I see what you're seeing. So this is on sticky notes all around the house. I always wanted my kids to give back and to understand the power of giving back and how much it brings. Kids are narcissistic, right? And it's like, what about me? So it's like you get good stuff back too when you give, and that's so important. And in communities across the country, it's just absolutely an amazing thing. So when I was, I think I skipped a slide. Oh, that's the other thing that's on sticky notes. This is one of our favorite quotes. Service is the rent we pay for living. And Marian Wright Edelman is one of my heroes, child advocate that I love. So when I was 5 years old, my dad came to me. He said, I've already tipped it with the slide, but pretend you didn't see it. He said, I have this new job. We lived in Philadelphia. And he said, but I have to go to, good news is, I got this job, bad news is I have to commute to New York. So I said, well, what is it? He said, well, it's a TV show, and it's for kids, and it takes place on a block like our Philadelphia block, and, there's an 8-foot tall bird, and there's There's like this Muppet and like nappy-headed Muppet in a trash can, and like I was like, oh, okay, well, good luck with that. So that show was Sesame Street. So my dad was the original Gordon on Sesame Street. So you'd have to be a certain age to remember my dad. He was the one with the pork chop sideburns, and he literally was the first person you saw in episode 1 of Sesame Street where he said, "Hi, I'm Gordon, and welcome to Sesame Street." And what an iconic, amazing show. I don't think people understand the diversity, and what this show meant at the time. This was a big deal to have kids of all colors, and just the way it was set in this urban area. Children, my phone is ringing. And it's my son. Should I answer it? Put him on speaker. I love that. I will. Okay, please don't say anything bad because you're on speaker in front of about 300 people. What is it?
Mom?
Yes?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and so can 300 other people, so say something profound.
Did you eat my pork bun?
Did I what?
Did you eat my pork bun?
I might have kind of thrown it out yesterday. I didn't know what it was. It was a pork bun. It looked like a sponge. Okay, honey, I have to go talk about important things. I'll call you later. Have your daddy go buy you another pork bun. Okay, bye. Okay, so I only answered the phone because I thought it was something important. They were at the Rams game. I'm like, how important? And they do have another parent there. So anyway, I'm sorry. And I was sitting at the table, and she was like, and why are you doing a reality show? But now you know, right? So anyway, Sesame Street was amazing, and my dad had this awesome, so all I wanted to do was be on the show, obviously, right? I was 5 years old. That's the coolest gig your father could ever have. So I kept asking him to be on the show, but my dad had this thing about kid actors he didn't want me to be on, and I guess he had seen some of the actors, and he didn't want that for me. So everyone on my block in Philly got to go up to New York and be on Sesame Street but me. So finally I begged and pleaded. Yeah, that's, like nepotism, really? Like, can I get some of that? So that's really hard. But finally, I begged and pleaded, and then I got to go up, and I had my one line, and I blew my one line. I was supposed to say, "Hi, Gordon," but I said, "Hi, Daddy." And then I'm still traumatized to this day. But he was right. I saw those lights, and I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And it was just amazing. And then later on, now there's a new character with autism. This is almost 50 years later. This is a big deal. And I was blessed enough to be asked by Children's Television, Sesame Workshop, it used to be called CTW, Sesame Workshop, to present Julia on the Capitol in D.C. As she came out. This is a game changer to have a Muppet with autism. That's huge. If my son had had that growing up, his childhood would have been a lot better. There would have been less stigma, more tolerance, and just more awareness. So that's pretty awesome. My son and the pork bun just threw me off, so bear with me. My whole track of thinking is, so why Muhammad Ali all of a sudden? Because we started a nonprofit for my dad. My dad, when I was a freshman in college, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And this was in like 82 or 83. There was no Muhammad Ali talking about his Parkinson's yet, or Michael J. Fox, or there was no awareness. And I remember going to the library at Sarah Lawrence and looking up microfiche. Remember that? My kids were like, what's microfiche? I was like, Google it and find out. Microfiche and the Dewey Decimal System. But I looked up Parkinson's, and all I saw was neurological and incurable. That's all I saw. So it was a scary time. I was 19. I thought I was going to have to quit college to take care of my dad with this mysterious disease. So we started a nonprofit for Parkinson's called Holly Rod, and we were struggling along as a small nonprofit until one day Muhammad Ali called us and said, do you need some help? I have a nonprofit, and I like to embrace you guys. He was that kind of guy. So he came to our event, and that's just some photos of him, and talking about community, how he cared enough about his community to reach out to me, because I thought not in a million years would this man, the greatest of all times, come and help us, and he did, and that put us on the map. So later on, when I skipped the part where I married Rodney, but okay. But you heard the engagement. We actually did get married. And then we had a set of twins. So these guys, cutest little guys, boy, girl, and and it was interesting. I was like, oh, I got a set of twins, boy, girl, and I'm done, like Insta family. There's two others. I'm not sure how they got here, but the pork bun boy was the middle child. But so anyway, so these guys were born, and it was such an amazing time. I mean, just a tremendous time until we got this autism diagnosis in 2000. Now, if you thought there was nothing in the library about Parkinson's, we knew nothing about autism in 2000. We knew that it was a disorder and not a disease. We knew the symptoms, but we didn't know what caused it. We didn't really know a whole bunch about how to treat it. So it was a dark day. I was just saying at the table, we call it the never day, because we were told all these things he would never do. He would never go to school, have in mainstream school, have friends, connections. Later on, he wouldn't be able to take care of himself. We'd be taking care of him his whole life. He would never look me in the eye, say, I love you, all these things. And it was really rough. All along, though, his twin sister was his backbone the whole time. You can see, like, she turned his frown upside down. Like, she was the one that made everything okay for him. And so, it's interesting now that there'll be 20 next week. It's, like, amazing to me, but she's always been there for him. So this was a little video that I want to play, because I was going to tell you what RJ's like, but this is in his own words, and this is something that his sister and brothers made. So it's a little homemade, but it'll give you a good sense of what his early days were like.
My name is Rodney Jackson Peete. Some people call me RJ, but I like Rodney better. When I was 3, a doctor told my mom and dad I had autism. Autism means I have a brain that is different. I did not really speak too well until I was 6. I did not really make friends. I cried a lot. I felt weird in my body. People don't understand my world. It was hard. Can you imagine feeling something but not being able to say it? Mom and Dad did everything for me to get me better. Thankfully, they could do that. I wish other kids could do some things I could do now. A lot of families do not have enough money to help their kids get better. That makes me sad. I wish there was a place where you could go and not pay and get help. I like the NBA and the MLB. I could tell you all the players' names on every team, but I really have a hard time making friends. The doctor said I would never play team sports. Wrong.
Never do.
The doctor said I would never make friends.
Wrong.
You gotta have hope.
The doctor said I would never say I love you on my own, but I do all the time. My twin sister wrote a book about autism. I'm so proud of her. My mom and I wrote a song about autism. Wanna hear it? I may have autism, but autism doesn't have me.
Thank you. Yeah, they did a great job with that. It was just came from the heart. I let them just go, just do it. And it was important to hear his voice, because he didn't get language till he was about 10, 11. He was nonverbal or very verbally challenged for a long time. So in came the books, and we know, I don't have to tell you how important when it comes to any cause, children reading books about it is, because they understand it, they don't get the stigma, they figure out that it's something that people around them are different, and they learn tolerance, they learn so many things. These books are so important that our family has written, and we didn't write them to make money or anything. We just wanted to spread the awareness that we didn't see when we got our diagnosis. So you heard about my brother Charlie, and then same but different you have in front of you. And my brother Charlie is kind of, more, for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and just to really talk about the experience of what autism is at an early age. And then same but different is Teen Life on the Autism Express. That's just self-explanatory. And just because I like to keep a happy home, I'm going to plug my husband's book too, even though it's not on Scholastic. And it's called Not My Boy. It was a very important book because so many men process this diagnosis differently. My husband went deep into denial, and we almost got divorced several times because he was playing ball. This guy, when you're a quarterback, you have to think about a lot of things. You have to be very focused, and he just didn't have the capacity to process RJ's diagnosis. It was painful for him that this young man, who was his namesake and his first son, was different than everyone else. And when he came in the locker room, he flapped around in circles and played by himself while the other guys' kids were getting autographs and, experiencing it. So it was hard for him. And his perspective, a father, a son, and one family's journey with autism was powerful. Him being a macho guy and what that was like. So really proud of that book for him. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I had little features on here. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so autism, I don't want to get into the weeds too much with it, but you all know that it is a disorder. Well, not everybody knows that. Some people still think it's a disease, and I've actually had some parents ask me if it's contagious in 2017. That's true. So there's still things that we don't know about it. More children diagnosed with that than AIDS, juvenile diabetes, and autism, cancer combined. Minority kids are getting diagnosed 2 to 5 years later than other communities. That has to stop because we're getting to them too late. And we don't know a lot of things about autism, but what we do know is early intervention is key. The financial burden I talked about, emotional burden, the toll, divorce rate, those are all different things. So when it comes to community, these are just some things that you can gain. Like one of the questions that I've been asked is, what is one thing you can gain from being part of this global autism community? In a word, there's community, there's acceptance, romance. Sorry, I didn't, Freudian slip, I'm sorry. It's actually the opposite, yeah. Wait, sorry. Friendships, understanding, gratitude, support, all kinds of things that you can learn. I have learned so much from this boy. It's been hard, but I've learned so much and have really met some amazing people along the journey. So what can we do as a community, as a nonprofit, to help support other children impacted by autism? So we started Holly Rod Foundation for families impacted by Parkinson's, and we partnered with USC out in California, Rodney's alma mater, to support compassionate care with families that just didn't know where to turn when it came to Parkinson's disease. And then we started a Holly Rod mission to help families impacted by autism. Autism is something that, like I said earlier, with the children who are not getting diagnosed soon enough, they need a place to go. They need a comprehensive place to evaluate them. I remember schlepping around from 8 different speech over here and occupational here and music therapy there. We did everything for this boy. So many people don't have that option in those resources. So we have granted a bunch of organizations around the country with RJ's Place grants, and those are places that are you have the opportunity to learn technology. We get pads. A lot of these nonverbal kids are speaking on iPads now. It's a game changer, the stuff that they're doing. And also bringing in young people that are RJ's age and helping them get pre-vocational skills so they can get a job, because there is a place for them in the community to work. And I'll tell you later how RJ is a perfect example of that. And then I was just telling Greg that we branded a whole event behind My Brother Charlie, our book, and we call it My Brother Charlie Goes to the Aquarium. There's something about aquariums that are soothing to children with autism. So we've gone to 6 aquariums around the country, and we shut it down for families impacted by autism, and they get to run around, make all the noise they want, do whatever they need to do, and it's such a great night out, and it's been the best program. Okay, so someone came to us and said, would you guys like to do a reality show? And I said, oh, the minute somebody throws some wine in my face, the Philadelphia Holly will come out. We don't need to see her on TV. We don't need to meet her. We think she's really nice, so let's keep it that way. But I thought a reality show where we kind of chronicle how we gather around this young man with autism and how we build a team around him, yeah, maybe that could be a good thing. And so we partnered up with the OWN network and Oprah Winfrey's network, and we did 12, almost 16 episodes of For Pete's Sake. But breaking news, the OWN network did not pick up the show, which was kind of sad because we really were enjoying doing it and thought it was really great, especially for the autism community. But then Hallmark Channel came in and said, we want to do it. So we are now going to be on the Hallmark Channel. And this is a really great thing. This is a great thing. So now the title is going to be called Meet the Peets, legal reasons. But it's essentially the same show. And the reason why we wanted to do this is we wanted to talk about our platform, our books, our autism programs, our awareness, some of the things that RJ is experiencing now. You know, he's now driving. They said he would never drive. He's working. They said he would never work. All these things. And imagine if you just get this diagnosis and you're told, like we were, that your son is never going to do these things. Then you turn on Hallmark Channel and you see a story of a family that was told the same thing, and look what their son's doing. That kind of, you can't put a price, you cannot overstate how important that is. Hope. Just a little bit of hope is so important. So this is a little clip from For Pete's Sake, if you haven't seen it, and you can kind of see how we're able to drive sort of a community awareness of what we're doing.
When RJ and I were 3 years old when he was first diagnosed with autism, he was having a lot of trouble communicating. I'd almost be his voice, and I'd often speak for him in times. I've always been in RJ's corner.
Go to USC.
You want me to go to USC?
Yeah, go to your dad's old school.
Whatever she wants to do, I'll go with it and I'll support her. But I want her to go to USC so she's close to me a lot.
So that's For Pete's Sake, and I think there's one more clip. Anytime you have someone that doesn't really understand you, they're not gonna really know how to love you because they don't know who you are. I don't want you to feel sad about not having 25, 30 friends, because you only really need 1 or 2 good friends, right?
Yeah.
Mom has Auntie Terry.
I have Wonder,
You have Wonder.
who always looks out for me.
Would Wonder ever put you in a bad position where you were either in harm's way or you did something inappropriate? He would never do that.
No.
That's a real friend. So in Same But Different, the book you have, we tell a story of RJ getting really just shaken down for lunch money, essentially. The 2017 version of that is not pretty. You know, when we were younger, it was just like, you know, I'll give you a wedgie, you know. But now it's a lot deeper. They put it on social media. They try to make it go viral. They try to embarrass you. There's so much more at stake. And when he was getting his bullying, first of all, they had to physically restrain me and keep me from going down to school because that wouldn't have been good either. But Rodney, who's the calmer parent, he goes down to school and he dealt with it. And it was a process. And these other kids learned, and we brought the other parents in, and we told them what autism was. We told them why RJ is specifically vulnerable. So we chronicled a lot of what is in the book, Same But Different, on For Pete's Sake. I'm getting mixed up with the names, but y'all get it, the Pete reality show. So now, after all this time, RJ has a job. RJ is the bat boy for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's me down there on the left singing the national anthem. And yeah, I don't know why I did that either. It was good, it went fine. I didn't forget the words or anything. But RJ standing behind me, they surprised me with him, and that was a real moment. The Dodgers have embraced RJ in their employee program as diversity. You know, we need these major league teams and these huge corporations to understand that these can be your best employees. RJ shows up to work 2 hours early every day. The manager, Doc Roberts, called me. He said, Holly, he doesn't have to be here till noon. It's 9:30. The parking lot attendants haven't even gotten here. And I'm like, RJ, he goes, he has a GPS brain. He said, there's a traffic accident on the 405. I don't want, because LA traffic. He is right. You do need to leave an hour early, but not 3 hours early. So this is a big deal, right? And I mean, I'm just starting to be able to talk about the Dodgers without crying and tearing up, because they took a chance on him, and now he's one of their best employees. And so I'm absolutely blown away by that. And they have partnered with Holly Rod Foundation to help get this, you know, other corporations to understand how important it is to hire these young people. I had a phone call with Microsoft recently. They get it too. They have an amazing hiring program, because these children and young adults think outside the box. They're brilliant in their own way. So I always say this quote, that I wouldn't change my son for the world, but I would change the world for him, because I just want communities to understand who these children are. And as they go into society, as they become young adults, they are valuable and they have something for us. And so, like RJ said, when he said, you know, when I couldn't talk, it was like having a ball stuck in my throat. Imagine the next time you see a young person with autism who cannot verbalize, yet there's so much they want to say. So these are the things that we want to get out in the community, and you know, I'm just so proud to be able to do it on a multi levels, many different platforms, to be able to talk about the things that we're doing. And again, I want to thank Scholastic, because without these books, there would be no, I mean, we would have a platform, but not this kind of platform. And I've been able to go around the country and sign books for so many people. And the other reason I want to thank you is for allowing RJ to be a co-author, because that is huge. We're always reading books written about people with autism, but rarely do we hear from them directly. So to have Ryan, who's a sibling, and she's now at NYU, and you know, and she's really discovering that, you know, she had her issues growing up, being the second fiddle, et cetera, and she is exploring that. So it's a family community, it's siblings, it's coworkers, it's everything. So to the extent that you all have the bandwidth to reach out and talk about what autism, or just special needs in general, is, and the inclusion that is needed, I really appreciate all the work that you do. I've already met several people in the room whose families are impacted by autism in some way, and I just want to thank you for being, you know, these cheerleaders for your loved ones, because it just, all of us as a community have to stay together. So that's it for me. I shut my phone off, so no more phone calls. So unprofessional. But I really have appreciated talking to you today, and I hope you have a great conference and enjoy this awesome gathering of minds, because you all are pretty amazing people. So I will be signing books afterwards, so if you want to say hi, I would love to see you. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of the time.